Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I'm going to be talking about some older editions of MYFAROG, which is Mythic Fantasy Roleplaying Game. So just to give you a little background of my experience with this game system, I first became aware of MYFAROG back in 2015 when I was more active on the Paizo forums. And I was active on the Paizo forums back between 2013 and 2015 because of the game Pathfinder Online, which I was very active in that community and, backed the Kickstarter and was playing that game. So as I started phasing, away from Pathfinder, a forum post came up on the Pathfinder forums warning about this game and saying, hey, everybody, this is a, kind of a PSA, avoid this game. And so, I being the kind of a curious type and kind of a not confrontational, but just someone who likes to make my own choices. When someone tells me not to look at something, I want to find out why. And so I'm going to take a look. If someone tells me not to, hey, don't buy this product, well, I'm certainly going to investigate it and, then make that decision for myself. And I'm pretty much an academic when it comes to game systems. And, I just like to, if it's something is affordable enough and, available enough, I will, purchase something just to read it and then make a judgment, based on my own impressions of the game system. So when I first purchased this game system, I purchased, I believe at the time it was 2.4. So that was, second edition, the fourth iteration of second edition. And got into it, really loved the game. I loved the game system. I certainly did not agree with any of the previous comments about the game system as a system. I didn't see the issues that may have existed in the first edition, and so I've been playing the game ever since then, as far as being a player and then as a game master or myth master for it, and found that the community for this game on Facebook, and there were two separate communities at the time, and both were really good communities to be a part of, and so there was a welcoming community for this game, and as I said, I've been playing it ever since. So during the course of the last 4 years now that I've been playing the game, I have spoken and chatted with the author Varg Vikernes on social media, whether it be not text messages or certainly not verbal chats, but on Facebook forums and such, and more recently in Twitter, which I haven't been that involved in Twitter before. And so I had mentioned that it's been really hard. I've been trying to find a copy of some of the older editions. And that's when he told me, hey, you know what? I will send you whatever I can, whatever I have available, and, send you a few things. And lo and behold, the package showed up. So I'm going to go through, and like I said, I took everything out of the box already, because it was double packed into two different boxes and lots of tape, and that usually becomes a very bulky thing to do on screen. And I was really shocked, all right, at what I discovered in the box. So I'm going to show you each of the books as I took them out, and we will go to a different view. Let me actually just do it this way. All right, this is the part of the unscripted part. So the first booklet that was on the very top is actually 2.2. So this was 2 iterations before the first that I had received, and I just want to show you a really quick comparison between 2.2 and then 2.6. Now the difference between 2.6 and 2.4, which was the first one that I received, was just some errata, changing some of the wording and such. These two editions, though, have a very different look. So here is 2.6, as you can see, and the layout and everything it uses the gray for certain sections, and then just the clear on others. And it's still high quality paper. It's not, cheesy or flimsy or anything like that. It's still decent stock. The cover is still fairly decent. The images and everything are really, really impressive. But no, you'll notice that there's very little art on the inside. It's just jam-packed with information. That one little page you might have caught there was formations, but no real internal art. Now when I compare that to 2.2, it's smaller, first of all, or it's a little bit more narrow, but the length is, quite a bit longer. And the heaviness of the cover, you certainly can feel. You can see that it's a much thicker cover. As you can see, Varg had signed each of the books that he had sent, and the paper is a glossier paper here. Now, flipping through, and I haven't done a rules comparison yet, so that's something that, I would certainly like to do with the MYFAROG gaming group on Facebook, is to play some of these editions. Now, the characters are going to be easily transported from one to the other. It's just some of the other information might be slightly different. And you can already see that in the older edition, 2.2, you do have some of these illustrations now on the interior, which were not in 2.6. And so here we have a male shirt, and it's still not a whole lot of illustrations, but they are done really well. At least I certainly like the art style of them. And the book's layout still looks, pretty decent. I mean, I know 2.4 was kind of dense and a little bit, a little bit difficult to kind of follow the flow of the game as far as like character creation. And I need to see, how this works out, whether it was better or worse for the new iteration. I have a feeling that it probably improved over the time, but the main change here is that this older edition does have some illustrations, and they're nice, useful illustrations too. So you can see like a staff sling. What does it look like? A sickle-shaped sword, a lead-weighted dart, a sword scythe, and a curved sword. So just some mostly equipment illustrations in 2.4 that weren't in 2.2 that weren't in 2.6. And so far, all of the illustrations are equipment illustrations, as you can see here. And I do know that One additional thing that was in these older books, or at least in this older one, is that in the back of the book, is the here's the character sheet. So I'm trying not to bend the cover too much. In the back of the book, it has the Mythmasters screen screen pages. So if you wanted to create your, basically your DM screen, you had, and there's only two here, so they're much smaller. Now in the later versions, you could print these off of the MYFAROG website and get those as well. So that's 2.2. Really, really excited to see that. Now the next thing in the pack was this huge map. So I'm going to switch views here to give you the, a larger full screen here. And Vark had sent me a map earlier on when he realized that, he was like, oh, you've never gotten a map. So he sent me the map first, probably a little bit over a year ago. So with this little care package here, he sent obviously it's a much, much larger map. So you can see, and I'm going to lose view here, but this map here is probably, I want to say it's at least 2 feet long by 18 or more inches. It might be even a 30 by 24 map. Very hard stock as far as the paper is concerned, and just stoked about getting a full-sized map. The next in it was 1.1. I'm sorry, 1.4. So this is the version 1.4. So my first view of first edition, and this is a hardcover, and I will switch views to come here. So this here is the hardcover of 1.4, and as we open it up, you can see his signature, numbered 61 of 100. And so some of this has changed, like some of his game testers had changed over time too. So that's, that's an interesting thing to see. And once again, this book is just absolutely beautiful. Has a table of contents right up in the, in the very beginning, which is something I kind of like. The just the overall view of it, and the look of everything. I know they talk about the font, on some of the sites where they say, oh, he's using papyrus font for the entire thing. I really don't mind it. I just like the idea of having it and seeing, how it's written. It does have a very old school, like an old look to it. So I'm just really, really liking this. Let's see. I do see some differences, all right, in some of the. I do see some differences in some of the terminology for some of the races and sub races that are in here that I don't recall from 2.4. Like I said, this is my very first time seeing the first edition of the game, and so once again we have we have some images on the inside of this that were not in 2.4. Looking at this, I really like, I almost like this layout a little bit better. It's not those really dark grays and then followed by the white here. So they're not as much of a contrast between the two. And so it allows you to kind of look at the whole page more so than just focusing in on that really dark gray. And once again, I mean, it's a huge volume. Paper quality is is really good. The illustrations, I really like the illustrations that are inside. There's not too many of them. So when you do come across them, just looking really, really into them, you start to see they're simple images, but they're still well done. And I mean, here you have the different types of armor, and you can see the detail in this. Let me take a look at who's the illustrator of this. So the artists are, the artwork is Andrew Nazarov. Curtis Clark is the font. The cover art is by Dusan Kostic. If I mispronounce names, apologize for that. And then Marie Cachette did the map. And so this is, then there were, a series of game testers, and some of them look different than what were in the second edition, and so on. So, and then we'll go to the very back and see if we had so this was not in the earlier edition, the later editions, I mean, with a full map of the of the setting and the character sheet, the skill sheet. Seems to be much more complex, and having this was not in later editions. This character skill sheet was not in later editions, or certainly not in this kind of detail. And this is a combat sheet. Yeah, so much more detail in this. Now you have to remember this game is not built off of Dungeons and Dragons as much as it is built off of Harn. I think it's called Harn. Harn Master. I have to take a look. Rune Quest definitely. Or Roll Master. I'm sorry. Let's see. The Inspiration RPGs. Harn Master, Middle Earth Role Playing, First and Second Edition. Roll Master. RuneQuest Deluxe Edition, and Stalker, the sci-fi role-playing game. So these were the games that inspired this. All right, and this book was released in 2012. So really excited about having this in my collection. And moving on. Now there was a smaller version of the map that I also received, and this is one that I had gotten previously as well. I have it upside down. And this came with the first edition, so this would have been tucked inside the first edition of the hardcover. And then finally, I was sent another copy of 3.0, and this one here is signed. So now I have my signed copy of 3.0, and that is going to go up on my shelf as well. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really am appreciative of the gift. I just love this game, and I really appreciate Varg, being thoughtful enough to send me, some of these, harder versions to harder editions to find, and I certainly will continue to support this game on my channel, and we'll certainly continue looking for anything new that comes out on the game. Like I had said in a previous video, when 3.0 came out, I was really taken by surprise by that, because there was no indication that a newer setting or time frame for the older setting was coming forward, and the improvements that were made in 3.0, I think were really tremendous. A very good step forward for the game system as well. So if you haven't played it, give it a try. Don't get hung up on any of the negative press that the game or Varg receive. Judge a game by the game standards. Like, think about it as, well, how does this game play mechanically? How does it compare to other systems that are out there? And ultimately, is the game a fun game to play? And I think that if you do give it a chance, you'll see that this is actually a very good system, considering it's the first game system that he had written, and so it's very well developed. And once again, give it a shot. Don't close doors or opportunities towards experimenting with other games just because people out there say, well, don't even try it. Don't even look at this thing. Just don't shut those doors. So once again, thanks for joining. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Share the video out there. If you have anybody that you think might want to see this game system, then share it out there. Let them take a look at it. And if they want to join a really open and welcoming community on Facebook, then just look up for MYFAROG, the gaming community. Great group of people, always looking to bring new people in, and always looking to get a game going. So it is one of the more active game communities that I've come across on Facebook. So I encourage you to do that as well. You all have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. Thanks for joining.